Welcome to Retro Rallycross Live. We're broadcasting to you on what is Lydden Legends Week, where a magnificent array of rally and rallycross cars will be celebrated in a way like never before in the first ever Lydden Legends Festival. We begin the programme with our regular Way Back When feature, and tonight we remember and pay tribute to the very first Lydden legend, a man who had a passion, a visionary who set us firmly on the path that got us to where we are today. I am, of course, talking about Bill Chessen, the original owner of Lydden Hill, who is sadly no longer with us. Lydden Hill Circuit came into existence in 1955 when Bill Chessen bought the land, using it initially for grass track and stock car racing, as well as events for motorcycles. Later, whilst on a visit to the USA, Bill saw a new sport which featured rally cars taking part in a sprint-style race. He wanted to bring this to Lydden Hill, and he went on to famously badger ITV and the BBC, eventually capturing the attention of Robert Reed of the World of Sport programme. That very first event at Lydden Hill on the 4th of February in 1967 was a huge success, and Bill, along with Bud Smith and the 750 Motor Club, followed that by giving us our first ever championship. And the rest, as they say, is history. There are many lasting memories of Bill. He was a lovely man, always charging about with flag in hand and keeping us all firmly in check. We had no doubt who was in charge. I wonder what he would have made of the modern day rallycross. I'd like to think he'd be saying, "I did this." I also think he would have loved the Retro Rallycross Championship. Rest in peace, Bill Chessen. The sport is in good hands, and we shall be forever grateful. We have three special guests for you this evening, and each have owners of original rallycross cars with a wealth of history, and this fits in perfectly with the Lydden Legends Week. Now, you probably already know that many of us began our motorsport journey in autocross. And one such team who did just that is Team Harold. And it's a pleasure now to welcome James and Paul Harold to the studio. James, Paul, your iconic Beetle was originally driven by Peter Harold in autocross before transitioning into rallycross. Paul, what do you remember of those early days?
Well, it all started, Shirley, in I think about 1965, when my brother wanted to get into autocross. He went to a local scrapyard to try to find a Mini, but it came back with a Beetle, and that started his career in autocross, which then developed into rallycross, and he rallycrossed until about 1998, 1999.
And then, James, you took over racing the car when?
I started, I think, in 2012, which was an event you organised at Lydden. I think technically the first retro rallycross event, 2012. The car basically had been sat for probably nearly 13, 14 years. We'd sort of gone through it and checked everything was tight, but nothing else really. we had a few technical issues, but that was the first time I'd sort of ever driven it properly in anger, other than just up and down a runway for 5 minutes. If I remember rightly, a wheel fell off.
It did.
Oh,
Which has happened since as well.
I was going to say that's happened since. Yeah, that's a recent one as well.
Yes,
It's a habit that
So,
needs to stop, isn't it?
it does, yeah. So that was the first one was 2012.
Yeah, 2011 we had Lydden Hill, we had a trial. And then
Oh, that was the one.
2012 when we kicked off. Yeah, it was at Mondello Park in 2012. Yeah. So you were
It would have
literally
been.
one of the very first people to join us.
Yeah, I think that was, like you say, 2011, the first event. There was, I think there was only about 6 cars, I think, if I remember.
There were 5.
Five.
There were yourself, Ray Morgan, Ian Biaggi, and Lance Foster. And then Rob dusted off the 6R4 just to top the numbers up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you won the championship in what year was that, James?
So 2018. We did various events between 2011 and 2018, but we did a full championship season 2018, and very luckily won the championship. Yeah,
it was good. Yeah, it's well deserved.
Thank you.
Paul, you've been the person that's keeping this car on track.
Yes, that's the easy bit, Shirley, keeping the car on track. The difficult bit is driving it.
Don't believe him.
It is.
No, I don't.
It's not the easiest thing to drive. Building the engine and sorting things out, that it's dead easy. I did actually drive it once at Blyton last year. Was it, James?
2 years ago.
He made me drive it, Shirley. He insisted that I drove it, and I did some testing at Blyton, and with all this new electrical data logging, I got ribbed out. I've been ribbed ever since, because apparently I was only using 40% throttle.
Oh dear.
But as I explained, I might have been using 40% throttle, but I was very, very smooth, and I didn't hit anything, and nothing broke.
Yeah.
So I was very pleased.
Yeah. Sympathetic.
Okay. I think probably the main problem for you, Paul, is actually sourcing parts, really.
Well, it's not so much sourcing them, Shirley, it's getting them made, because most of the stuff on the car is homemade. We have to get everything made, basically drive shafts, uprights, wheel carriers. So if anything breaks, we have to either get it made in the same way, or we redesign it and try and make it stronger. But it's using very few. There are a few standard parts, but not many. So that's the issue with the car. It's a bit of a homemade combination of different bits and pieces.
Yeah, but it works, and it is probably the prettiest car out there.
Well, we quite like the colour scheme. We haven't really done too much with it. It's as it was last raced by Peter. He raced it, I think, last in about 1998, and it's the same colour scheme as it was raced then by him. So we haven't changed it. We quite like it. It gives it that retro look too, which is what we're trying to achieve. So
it does. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And it's also been featured on the BBC Formula One coverage. 2015 was that when Jensen drove the car?
That's correct.
I think it was 2015. Yeah. So how was that? That was a good day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Believe it or not, it was August. It was peeing down with rain, wet all day, and just a shame that he didn't get a chance to experience it in the dry, because, as I said, it was standing water everywhere, and he didn't really get to use the full potential of the car. But he he seemed to enjoy himself. He didn't break it.
I must say, Shirley, that was the most stressful day of my life, because I can watch James driving it around, but when somebody else is driving it, it's very stressful, and particularly because, to start with, Jensen didn't get out of third gear, so we had to sort of call him in and tell him he needed to change gear. But to be fair, he was very quick. I was very impressed with him at the end. He was considering the conditions. He pedalled it pretty quickly, I thought. Yeah.
And he did enjoy himself, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He was telling us all afterwards just how much he'd enjoyed himself. Well,
Yes,
shall we
he
take
did.
a look then, James, at you in action in the Beetle? We have a clip from Croft. I think it was 2014, the clip that we have. And if we can show that now.
Back with Retro Rallycross then, the first of two finals for them. This is for the pre-1982 cars, and it should be Ray Morgan and James Harold who start as the favourites in the Escort and the Beetle. Well, it looks like it's Morgan who's made the best getaway as they head down towards Clervaux. No, James Harold pulls ahead of him in the Beetle. In third place, it's Mark Griffin in his Ford Fiesta. Then Ian Biaggi in the sole surviving Mini in fourth place after we lost Lance Foster in that crash in Heat 3. So James Harold leads then in the VW Beetle. Can he hold off the ex-Mark Lloyd Escort of Ray Morgan? Very much in the mould of Martin Shanker, Mr. Rallycross in the 80s. The power of the BDA Cosworth engine telling here as they come up towards the right-hander before the hairpin. Harold muscles the Escort out wide, and the Beetle still holds the lead. Into the hairpin they go then. James Harold leads Ray Morgan. Third place it's Mark Griffin, then Ian Biaggi is fourth, and Paul Haig in the Vauxhall Nova is fifth. Morgan almost out on the grass. He is out onto the grass as they come back towards the tarmac. That's lost him some momentum. Could we see an upset here? Ray Morgan was the clear favourite for pre-82 victory coming into this meeting. But James Harold could have the legs on him here in the Beetle, and Mark Griffin's not far away in that beautiful Mark I Ford Fiesta either. The Trevor Reeves lookalike. James Harold's Beetle, reminiscent of the likes of John Button, Øyvind Varland, Mikael Nordstrom as well, the former British Grand Prix winner, began his career in a Beetle. Ray Morgan's closed back up on James Harold though. Here they come over the loose infield section. Morgan's lining up for an attack, and Mark Griffin's in there as well. Three of them together for the lead. Morgan sideways. The last lap board goes out for James Harold in the Volkswagen Beetle. Ray Morgan closes up on him. Is he going to try and make a move here as they come onto the tarmac? Yes, he is. The power of the Escort tells, and Ray Morgan takes the lead in the ex-Mark Lloyd Escort. Harold down to second. Ray Morgan has been one of the stars of the Retro Rallycross scene, running very deep into the turn there at Hawthorne. He's held the lead. The light really is fading here at Croft, it has to be said. The drivers might be struggling a bit to see where they're going. Harold in second place. Thankfully the dust has been kept to a minimum. Still in third place is Mark Griffin, but it's looking good for Ray Morgan in the Ford Escort Mark III Cosworth BDA. Raced in the early 80s by Mark Lloyd. Is going to come through and take the win in the hands of Ray Morgan. He wins the pre-82 final. James Harold comes over in second, and Mark Griffin is third.
Yeah, well, that was great. I just love watching your car, James, going around the circuit. Well, now it's time to move on to our third guest of the evening, the owner of the Porsche 911 that was originally owned by Rolf Nielsen, and it was the car that won the very first British Rallycross Grand Prix. So welcome Barry Stewart to the studio.
Good evening, Charlie.
Hello, Barry.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Tell us how you managed to get your hands on such a classic car, Barry.
So sort of mid-90s, I used to look after a Circuit 911 in the Porsche Open Championship. There was various other cars out and about, and one of the prep teams came up to me and said, "You're into this stuff that throws rocks at cars, and we've got one stuck in our yard and we want to get rid of it. Come and have a look." So I went and had a look at it, and it was rather tatty and sad in a corner with no engine. So we done a deal, got the car, rebuilt it, sourced and built an engine, and took it to Autosport because we got invited to there. And a large hairy Viking came along and took an interest in the car, proved what we'd done to it, and announced that it is his car. So I asked him who he was, and he said that he was Rolf Nilsson. And it was his old car from 1982.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was his car, and then I think Shell Owen owned the car.
Yes, it came from Holland, so it was, we don't know the history from there. I believe Shell Owen had it, but I have no history of that time.
No, I believe that to be true, but I don't know. So Retro Rallycross, you're also a former Retro Rallycross champion.
Yes,
You're obviously enjoying racing in the series.
I love racing in a series. A great bunch of people to go out and play with. I must admit, I'm quite frustrated to see the back of the Beetle all the time. So we need to rectify that to try and see that behind me. But we're getting there. It's fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you didn't have such a good start to the season. Was it your gearbox? I can't quite remember.
It was going really well on the first day. We got some really good results. On the second day, out on the first heat, which I won, there was a bit of a clonk in the back. All the rest of everything seemed to be working. Won the heat, parked it up, went to start it, and something didn't really work very well. So looked out, and the starter ring gear had made an exit through the bell housing. So didn't work. That was us done for the day. It fundamentally is broken.
And we can talk about the Lydden Legends Festival. So that's going to be a very exciting event this coming weekend, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to that. It looks as though it's going to be a spectacular weekend. Hopefully the weather holds for everybody. And yeah, we'll have some really good fun.
So that all looks very exciting, and I really can't wait for the Lydden Legends Festival this coming weekend. We all wish everybody at Lydden Hill a successful event. Retro Rallycross will be there, and we'll certainly be playing our part in helping you make the weekend a success. Thank you so much to Barry, to James, and to Paul, and I'll see you at the weekend. Thank you for watching, guys.